Welcome to Cinema Bites, your go-to for movie recaps in a flash. Big twists, epic moments, all in just minutes. The movie begins with a group of workers protesting and heading to a factory to confront the factory owner. There was a boy named Sankaka watching from a high staircase to see what was happening because the leader of these workers was his father. They were protesting because the factory owner hadn't paid them for a long time. Moreover, their wages were already low and they were forced to work long hours with no other benefits. At that moment, a fight breaks out between the angry workers and the guards protecting the factory until they hear the factory owner's voice on the microphone asking everyone to leave except for one person to come inside and talk to him. Sankaka's father orders all the workers to return home, and two workers go inside to speak to the factory owner. Later that night, Sankaka asks his father why he does this, why he involves himself in others' problems, especially since no one complained and even blamed him for causing trouble. But his father tells him that he must defend the weak and cannot stand idly by when he sees injustice before his eyes. That night, the weather turns stormy with rain, lightning, and thunder. We notice that Sankaka is terrified whenever he hears the sound of thunder, and he fears it. The next day, they wake up to the voice of a neighbor, one of the families of the two workers who went to the factory owner. She tells Sankaka's father that they haven't returned since then. He immediately gathers the rest of the workers and heads to the factory to find out what happened and whether they were killed or harmed in any way. At this time, Sankaka's mother feels worried and takes Sankaka to the house of one of the missing workers. When she talks to his wife and asks about him, she notices the worker inside the house and realizes he betrayed the others, taking some money to keep quiet. Sankaka and his mother rush to the factory to warn his father because it's clearly a trap. But his mother falls while running, breaking her leg, so she sends Sankaka alone. At the factory, a fight breaks out between the workers, led by his father, and the guards. In the chaos, the workers betray their leader, stabbing him in the side and killing him. At that moment, the weather worsens with rain, lightning, and thunder. Sankaka approaches the factory, calling out to his father from a distance to warn him, but he hides, afraid to come out, fearing the lightning will strike him. By the time he reaches his father, he has already died. Sankaka runs to him, begging him to wake up, but it's too late. Sankaka becomes enraged, grabbing a guard's arm and breaking it. Suddenly, lightning strikes him. When people try to approach him and pull him away, they get electrocuted and thrown far away. Lightning strikes him again, throwing him to the other end of the factory, where he hits a pillar and loses consciousness. A year passes since this incident. One day, his mother tells him she has a job interview and needs to go to the city for 2 days. She promises to return on the third day before he gets back from school. They had sold their house and run out of money, leaving them with nothing to live on. On the day she was supposed to return, Sankaka comes back from school, happy and excited, but he doesn't find his mother at home. He waits for days, but she doesn't appear. Their neighbor, whose husband betrayed his father, brings him food after realizing he's alone, but Sankaka throws the food on the ground. By the end of the day, he's starving, having gone days without eating. He goes to the kitchen, only to find spoiled zucchini. He then goes out to the street, picking up food that had fallen on the ground and eating it. At that moment, he decides to leave the area. In the next scene, we see him being chased by a gang of kids in an alley. They beat him and cut his ear. They were about to kill him when a boy intervenes, defending Sankaka and fighting off the gang. The boy takes Sankaka to an abandoned train station where he lives, having no family or home, surviving in the streets. Later, Awang teaches Sankaka martial arts so he can defend himself. He advises him to live peacefully by avoiding problems and staying out of trouble. Sankaka follows this advice after Awang leaves him and moves to another city. He works at the port until the gang that attacked him earlier returns to confront him again. But this time, they were more because he hit one of them when he took his place in the queue. To escape from them, he finds a car belonging to a rich man and his wife. He gets in with them, and they wanted to adopt him. But he gets scared when he remembers Awang's words warning him about the rich, as they exploit children like him. When the car stops on Sankaka Street, he escapes. Years pass, and Sankaka grows up and works as a security guard at a major newspaper printing press. Just because he was smart and read all the time, he had experience and background knowledge on how to fix anything that broke down. So, at the printing press, they would have him fix the broken equipment. People were amazed at how skilled he was, even though he worked in security. To this day, he is still afraid of lightning. The moment he hears it, he gets terrified and distressed. We then move to the wealthy neighborhood and get introduced to him. Dirgama Utama, a young politician known for fighting corruption, no matter how influential the corrupt individuals are. At a party with his family, he meets two members of the party who tell him about Ben Gokur, the richest man in the country and the most powerful, who uses his influence for evil and corruption. No one dares to stand against him. They tell him that when Ben Gokur was young, his father was very wealthy and owned farms. His uncle conspired to kill his father and tried to kill him too, setting the house on fire to take all the inheritance and wealth. When Ben Gokur was trapped in the fire, he hid in a wardrobe, but the right side of his body was completely burned, leaving him disabled. Afterward, his uncle placed him in an orphanage where children were tortured. Ben Gokur conspired with a fellow orphan, killed the director, and escaped. He then set his uncle on fire, just as his uncle had done to his family and reclaimed all his father's wealth. He helped the orphans he had been with attend schools, supported them, and became their ultimate role model. No one could say no to him. While Durgama listens to this story, Ben Gokur himself arrives to greet him, but Durgama refuses to shake his hand. Ben Gokur considers this an insult, subtly threatens him, and makes him feel paranoid as he walks home, constantly looking over his shoulder. When he gets home, he senses someone is following him. He brings his family inside and locks the doors, only to be ambushed by one of Ben Gokur's men, who puts him to sleep with a magnetic device and kidnaps him. When Durgama wakes up, he finds himself tied to a chair in a garage, with his wife and children hanging by ropes connected to his chair. Every time he tries to stand up to save them, the ropes tighten and they fall faster. The man sets the ropes on fire, forcing Durgama to watch them fall. But it turns out all of this was planted in his mind, and he ends up jumping off a building, believing he was saving his family, ultimately committing suicide. At the same time, Sankaka is asleep, dreaming of his father's death. He wakes up to the sound of gang members harassing his neighbor. When this happens repeatedly, he intervenes, defends her, and beats up the criminals, teaching them a harsh lesson. Later that night, while on his security shift, the same gang attacks him. When he tries to defend himself, 30 of them gang up on him, leaving him unable to fight back or escape. They pin him to the ground, cut off his other ear, and throw him off a building. At that moment, it starts raining with lightning and thunder. Unconscious, Sankaka is struck by lightning multiple times, which revives him as electricity courses through his body. He crawls back home, sleeps, and wakes up to someone knocking on his door. It's his neighbor, who leaves her younger brother with him while she goes to the market. Later, we see a government rice warehouse where workers inject sacks of rice with a green substance without anyone noticing. When Sankaka realizes his neighbor is late, he takes the young boy and heads to the market to find her. He discovers her protesting with other vendors against the gang that constantly harasses and extorts them, beating and humiliating them. At that moment, the gang arrives. The same ones Sankaka had fought the day before. Sankaka confronts them, and a fight ensues. While one of the vendors tries to protect her goods, Sankaka leads the gang away and fights them outside, defeating them all. When they attack him again, he discovers that his hands can emit electric shocks, knocking them all unconscious. Afterward, Sankaka returns to work and his boss treats his wounds. His neighbor and her companions come to him for protection, but he refuses. Later, his younger brother rushes to him, crying for help because the gang has set the market on fire. Sankaka learns from the girl that their leader is Ganda Hamdan. He decides to demand compensation for the destroyed goods and homes. When he returns to the printing press, the weather changes, with lightning and thunder. But this time, Sankaka is no longer afraid and steps outside. Lightning strikes him again and again, and he begins to feel powerful. He then heads to Ganda Hamdan, who is celebrating his wedding. The bride, furious at her family, demands that he resolve the issue. Meanwhile, all the women in the city who ate the rice start showing strange symptoms. It's later revealed that the green substance injected into the rice was designed to target fetal brains, causing them to grow up violent and lacking moral awareness, creating an uncontrollable generation. Amid the chaos in the city, Sankaka confronts the gangs. During the fight, one of them stabs him in the back and pulls out an eye before fleeing. That night, as lightning strikes again, Sankaka decides to wear something on his head to block the pain in his ears. He creates a helmet with attachments for his ears, wraps his body in rubber to prevent his friends from being electrocuted, and essentially designs a superhero suit. He begins patrolling the city at night, stopping thefts and electrocuting some of the thieves. Meanwhile, Ganda Hamdan and one of Ben Gokur's men unearth a glass cube, attracting a swarm of birds and bats in a whirlwind. Sankaka's actions spread in the news, with some believing he's a superhero and others indifferent, seeing him only as a defender of the oppressed. Sankaka learns that the one truly responsible for burning the market is Ed Suleiman, the violinist. Disguised in his new suit, he confronts Ed to find out why he did it, only to discover that Ed is no ordinary person. He has a fiery brand on his chest and attacks Sankaka using his violin case, which he transforms into a sword. As Sankaka tries to escape, he gets hit by a bus in the middle of the street. When Ben Gokur learns of this, he contacts all the individuals he once helped and raised in the orphanage: doctors, blacksmiths, sculptors, fighters, and others. They launch a wide-scale assassination of government members occur after the mayor rejected Benacor's request for his new project and insulted him. The truth is, this team was very strong, and they all seemed to possess supernatural powers or were mentally unstable, reaching the point of insanity. They eventually reach the mayor while he is on his way home. Benacor's men attack him and kill his guards. At the moment when one of them is about to kill the mayor, Sankaka appears and, after a fierce battle, kills him. He discovers the same mark on the man's body as the one on the musician's body, confirming the truth. These were the orphans Benacor had trained to become killers. During this period, videos of Sankaka killing criminals on his own spread among the youth and children, inspiring them to follow his example and stand against corruption. Among them is a young boy who goes out alone to defend his neighbors when a gang attacks them. As the gang beats him, they are surprised to see all the neighborhood youth appear behind him, causing the gang to flee. At that time, the government announced that all pregnant women in the country should take the vaccine to protect their children from the drug they were previously poisoned with. The vaccine distribution begins, but at the right moment, the mayor discovers that this is all part of Benacor's plan to inject the dangerous drug into the children, making it official. The mayor contacts Sankaka to stop this before it happens, and an entire generation is destroyed. At this time, Sankaka learns from his friends that she knew his mother because she was a nurse at the hospital where his mother was treated. She tells him that during the 2 days his mother was being treated, she returned home to find him missing. She searched for him for many years without success. Sankaka decides to look for her. Meanwhile, he receives a call from the mayor, and Benekor and his fighters also appear and attack him at the printing press. A fierce battle ensues, with each of them hitting him repeatedly. The problem is that his power weakens because there is no lightning to recharge his energy and give him strength. At that moment, Benekor is about to kill his friends when Sankaka, feeling anger, generates thunder himself, not from the sky. Suddenly, he strikes Benekor's gang, killing them one by one, throwing them with all his strength and chasing them into the sky. Suddenly, a hypnotic man appears and traps Sankaka in a dream, shrinking him. But Sankaka is stronger than that, electrocuting him with lightning and killing him. He stabs Benekor with a sword, killing him. Afterward, he goes to prevent the vaccine from reaching the people. He intercepts one of the vaccine trucks on the road, overturns it, takes 2 bottles of the vaccine, and strikes them with lightning, destroying them and all similar bottles throughout the city. However, in another part of the city, the man we saw with Ganda Handan is digging into the ground and retrieves a glass cube from his museum. He breaks part of it. When Sankaka strikes all the glass with lightning, destroying it, he also destroys the glass cube with the man, which no one could break except Sankaka's lightning. The man retrieves a half head, attaches it to Sankaka's blood-stained bandages, and places it in the wall opening. He places the head on the body inside. Suddenly, the man revives and commands the preparation of an army to fight Gundala, who we learn is Sankaka himself, or a manifestation of him, unaware of his past. Gundala is the thunder hero from thousands of years ago, and his enemy, who was decapitated and imprisoned in this way, revives. In the end, we learn that to overcome corruption and chaos anywhere, we must unite. No one can distance themselves from the problem out of fear for themselves because, in the end, they will still be affected. We must never remain silent in the face of injustice, no matter how powerful the oppressor is. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell to get more new videos.